Hi, what's up there? Welcome. Today I'm discussing my hybrid build of Traptrix Dogmatika. I think it's a very strong hybrid build where it's very easy for you to summon an extra deck monster in the form of Traptrix Serra to the field and then later extend with your Dogmatika cards. So I'm not going to explain too much about it without going into the deck. Let's just jump right into it and I'll explain everything as I go. So first of all, I'm playing triple of every strong Traptrix monster. It's very common that everyone plays these. Some people opt to choose to play a 10th Traptrix monster, but that's mainly for the name, for consistency reasons, so you make sure that you also always open with a Traptrix name. But seeing as this is a hybrid and the Dogmatica cards are very good at offering more consistency, it's definitely not necessary to play more than these 9 Traptrix monsters. So this is the basic core of your deck. You need to get into this engine, but there's 3 supplementing engines to make the deck stronger and even more consistent. Obviously, every Traptrix player knows that Parallel Exceed and Shade Brigandine are amazing extenders to the deck, but the Dogmatica Ecclesia is a great extender as well. The great thing about Ecclesia is that she fits like a glove in the Traptrix deck. It's very easy to special summon her to the field, and with her effect, either fetch Dogmatica Fleur-de-Lis or the Trap Dragma Punishment, which will be able to trigger Sarah. So the Dogmatica Ecclesia is an amazing extender, but besides Parallel, Exceed, and Shade Brigandine, the Ecclesia is able to start an engine entirely on her own. For the Brigandines and the Parallel Exceed, you need other cards to combo as well. But even if you don't draw any Traptrix monsters, you can start your Dogmatica engine. And if you do happen to draw a Traptrix monster with the Dogmatica engine, it becomes even better. And I feel like a true hybrid needs both sides of the deck to work independently, but if they do come together, they become even stronger. And that's definitely the case for Dogmatika Traptrix. So as I mentioned, these 3 cards are the extenders of the deck, and they're really amazing. You're playing 9 core cards and 9 extenders. So targets for Dogmatica Ecclesia are Fleur-de-Lis, which is a very strong hand trap, and also able to out Red Eyes Dragoon. First off, you'll need to try to bait the Dragoon, but I'm sure you'll be able to do that. And then after that, you can special summon the Dogmatica Fleur-de-Lis because there's an extra deck monster on the field. And if you do have another Traptrix monster on the field, Fleur-de-Lis has a non-targeting effect negation. So it turns the Dragoon's effects off, so it becomes 3000 again as well. It's also being able to be targeted again, but you can just attack with the Fleur-de-Lis. It becomes 3k and it crashes into the Dragoon, so that's a really relevant thing to know. Also, this card triggers in the hand, so it can dodge cards like I'm trying to think of something here. Well, obviously cards like Cold Blood Grave, because this is essentially an effect value, but it comes onto the field. But if you're trying to test with this deck, you'll see that the fact that Fleur-de-Lis triggers in the hand, but negates once it comes down, is really strong. For example, it dodges infinite impermanence by that way. So the more you'll test it, the more you'll see that Fleur-de-Lis is actually just an insane card. But beside the Fleur-de-Lis, I'm also playing 3 Ash, 2 Veiler, and 1 Ogre. I mean, the hand traps are very flexible. You can play Crows, you can play Nibiru, whatever you'd like. Yeah, there's definitely not an optimal ratio, I think. I think it depends on your metagame, your locals, or whatever. So play around with it. So I'm playing triple Disciples of Nadir, which is an insane card. It helps this particular deck with going second because you can send the Entis, which will then allow to pop you a card and search a card, so it's always a +1, but it's also a card that the opponent often just has to negate. So you play this, you negate it, and you then make your normal combos. So it's very good at going first and second. You can also choose to dump the fusion card from Dogmatika, search the Ecclesia, summon the Ecclesia, and then in the end phase, you can add Fleur-de-Lis with the fusion. So it's really good. It's an amazing card. Officer Goblin because I just happen to like consistency over power, but you can make something else of that if you want to. I think the Pot of Desires is actually an amazing card for this particular deck. As you can see, I'm playing mostly triples of everything. This is a search target, so sometimes you might banish a one or even two of this, but then you'll instead just search for the punishment. But the thing is, usually it doesn't happen. I've rarely seen this clash with the deck. Also, you might think that it might clash with Parallel Xe, but in weeks or even months of testing, maybe it just happened once to me that this clashed with Pot of Desires. Like, if you go into the math of how Pot of Desires clashes with Parallel Xe, it's amazingly positive that it just almost never breaks you up. Infinite Impermanence obviously is the best hand trap around right now because it dodges all the interruption, 3 tactical talents, Called by the Grave, but it's also able to out cards like the Neuron Engine. So it's an amazing card. You need to run it. It triggers Sarah. It's amazing. There's no comparison to it. I'm running 4 trap holes. That's mostly, I'm running 4 of them because I play Pot of Desires and I want to have some longevity in the game. But you can choose to play triple Floodgate and 1 Gravedigger's Trap Hole, or triple Bottomless and 1 Gravedigger's Trap Hole. I'm just testing this out right now. I don't think it'll stay in the deck, but whatever. You can play 4 like this if you want to, like me, but it's very important that you do play the 1 Gravedigger's Trap Hole for your first turn setup to protect with your Traptrix Rafflesia, obviously. And also the 1 Dragma Punishment. This is kind of a skillful card because this card is going to lock you out of your extra deck until the end of your next turn. So if you play this during your opponent's turn, you won't be able to finish your opponent off with extra deck cards during your follow-up turn. So if you play this, you need to either have an established board, and this helps it to protect it, to have enough damage on board to make game the next turn, or you play this when there's really no other choice. Like, you have to do this to protect your board, otherwise you'll lose. If it's not necessary, this is a last resort, because locking you out of the extra deck is a problem. But the thing is that the Pop 2 can definitely help you stave off any meta decks like Adamantippators. It might just make your board strong enough against Dragon Link. So I like this at the moment, but I guess you could cut it as well. But I'd advise at this point to run it. Traptrix Sarah, 2 of them. I've never felt like I wanted to play 3. In some instances, in months of testing, I guess it came up that I needed a 3rd one, but really, you'd rather just have the flex spots of any other tech cards in your extra deck. The 1 All Mirage, and I'm also playing the 1 Link Spire at the moment. However, I do consider cutting this at this particular time. I really liked it in my pure Traptrix builds, but the thing is, now with the Dogmatikas, there's so much more consistency that I rarely feel like I need this to add just a little more consistency. So you might want to try and tack something else into it. Rafflesia, Alomeris, which I'm an amazing fan of, which is a really good card. If you try to get into it more, play it just to see what happens, you'll notice that it's actually able to do some really good stuff. Redoer, Dweller, Tornado Dragon, Double Entis, Diffusion. The Vespinet is a big reason why I really like Alomeris as well. So Vespinet might not be known to many people, but it's coming out this week in Rise of the Duelist, and you can overlay this over a rank 4. It becomes a 2500 pierce damage monster, and if it gets destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target 1 level 5 or lower monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So after you've used your Alomeris effects, you can just overlay it with the Vespinet. Or, let's say, during your first turn you made a Rafflesia. It's really hard for her to go into the offensive. So after you've protected your board with Rafflesia during your first turn, on your follow-up turn, you can go in for the kill with Vespinet, overlaying it over the Rafflesia. So I really like the Vespinet. You should consider testing it. To round off the extra deck, I'm playing Utopia Lightning and Utopia. Not playing the Utopia double. I mean, I guess you could do it because this deck really works quite decently at going second, especially much better than pure Traptrix. So you can choose to special summon the Ecclesia, but not choose her effects, and then you've got another level 4 body on the field to go into Utopia Double. So I'd say that going into Utopia Double is even easier with this deck than in regular Traptrix. However, I just really despise the brick. Same reason I'm not running artifacts in Traptrix. I really hate bricks, so I've chosen not to run the Utopia Double package. But if you want to, I guess you can try it, and it might be even better. Who knows? On the bottom here, there's just some cards that I'm keeping in my mind. I do really think that like the Negalosia AA Zeus card, that's an insane card for Traptrix in a few months. Definitely consider testing it because it's amazing. Currently, I'm not having it in this extra deck because I want to keep it for the current meta game, but this card is amazing. It's insane. You can go for Utopia Lightning damage, just kick in for a load of damage, and then overlay this in main phase 2, or even make the Alomaris, just use her effects, do a random attack, and just go into this. It's insane. But anyway, that's it for the current deck list, and let's go into some duels and test hands. This is actually a pretty decent hand. I'm going to Sarah. And then activate Disciples of Nadir, or Nadir Servant, I guess it is in the TCG. Sending the Dogmatika Fusion, adding the Ecclesia. And then next up, activating the Ecclesia. So use her search effect, and you can search for at least, since we already have the Dragma punishment. So I get 1 interruption, 2 with double pop, 3 interruptions, Ash Blossom, Fleur-de-Lis negation, and also a Traptrix Mermelial pop from Sarah. So that's a lot of interruptions. Next up. That's interesting. It kind of depends on the pot of desires, I guess. Alright, that just made it amazing. Let's check the banish pile first. It's 1 parallel. Amazing. It rarely happens that you draw a parallel and then banish 2 of them. Like, mathematically, it rarely happens. But I guess you check it out anyway. So this hand is actually really good. I also should check if I banished the Gravedigger's Trap. I didn't, so that means I'm going into Traptrix for Ecclesia to protect my board against Nibiru. So on my following turn, I will overlay the Vespene Exit over this to go onto the offensive. I really like that about the card. So at this point, I have 1, 2, 3 interruptions, 4 interruptions, and 5. I forgot to activate the Ecclesia. So 5 interruptions plus either the punishment or the Fleur-de-Lis. But most of the time, I opt for the Fleur-de-Lis. So that's 6 interruptions, 7 if you count the Mermelial pop. Third hand. This is a very traditional Traptrix hand. I mean, it's consistent. This hand isn't particularly powerful. Let's see what we end on. So this is 1 interruption, 2, 3, and you're also a bit protected by Ecclesia. You're going to pop off with the Sarah if they use permanents or evenly matched or whatever, so it's decent. Alright, let's look at some replays. Mostly I'll let the footage speak for itself, but if necessary I'll add some comments. First duel is against Dogmatika. have to say, he's going to make a small board. I did Ash Blossom him. Nowhere near an expert on Dragunity, but I felt like he could have gone a little bit further with his combo. But like I said, he's going to end on a Tomb and Borderload Savage Dragon, which is not enough to stop me. He does negate the Parallel Exit, which is a good call, I guess. But the Dragmas are able to extend past that negation, and I'm going to beat over the Warlord Savage with Fleur, which is just a really nice addition that he goes up to 3k. Do the punishment so he can't activate that Tomb and also destroy the field spell in the process, Dragon Ravine. And after I Ash Blossom his Dragon Ravine, it's pretty much game over. He allows me to OTK him, and with the Dragmas you're able to put on a lot of damage on the board, as you can see, with Fleur pumping up both Ecclesias by 500 as well. It's over. Right, next one is against Heroes. Oh yes, this is actually a really good going first hand, as you probably can see for yourself. So I make the Rafflesia probably, yes. I accidentally put it in attack mode. We're going to go a Redoer next to it. And finish off with the Dragma engine, going for Ecclesia, searching punishment, I guess. Yep, and then in the end phase search to release. So that's a lot of interruptions. Going with Tornado Dragon, call the Haunted, and this should be enough damage to go for game, I think. Maybe not. Yes, it's enough. Alright, so as you can see, just like the previous duo I believe, a turn 3 kill is very easy to do, even without Utopia Double. Last one is going to be against Monarch, which was a very exciting duel, to be honest. Again, the hand traps coming in clutch to trigger Parallel Exit. So I felt really confident with this setup, and I obviously didn't know what I was going up against, but I think I'm ending on like 4, 5, or 6 disruptions. Redo 1, 2 to 3, 4, 5 disruptions, excluding the Mermelio pop from Sarah. But like I said, he's actually going pretty hard, and especially the Abominable Chain is going to put in some work. So the reason he summoned this weak monsters, and that allowed me to send Entis to the graveyard and pop the Unchained Soul, which was nice. And then remember, I can't go into my extra deck because of Dragma Punishment, which was not good. But then again, at least coming in with that 3k attack, clearing off all problems. You can see he's still holding on there, and I think this finishes it because It's got no tribute monsters. 2. Yep, that's it. Good duel, to be honest. So, we're back at the deck list, and I hope that the deck list, the explanations I gave you, the test ends, and the rules I showed you gave you some insight in the way you can play Traptrix Dogmatika. I really do feel like this deck and the way it mixes with Dogmatika has some advantages over playing Traptrix Pure. Mainly in the way that it's a lot better at going second. And something I forgot to mention is that if you look at the trap lineup, it's actually really low on trap count. I don't really count Brigandine and Impermanence as traditional traps, so if you look besides those, you only got 5 normal traps left in the Traptrix deck. However, you're still able to trigger Sarah consistently, the normal traps, because they're so highly searchable through Remilio and Ecclesia, which is also being searchable by Disciples of Nadir. So you don't hard draw the normal traps, making it going second harder for you to play, but they're still highly searchable. So in that way, I really think that this deck has some advantages, and you should definitely try it out for yourself. I think you'll be surprised if you haven't tried it yet. Anyway, if you stuck all the way to the end, I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, until next time. Later.